بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. In the last session we talked about the possibility of having something along self-love or underlying self-love that can motivate us to act. Either along self-love, like self-love is one thing that can be motivating us maybe 90% or more than 90% of the cases. But we can also have love for others and love for beauty, love for knowledge. And this can also be very much functioning in us. Or going under this level and find something common between self-love and love for others, like love for goodness in general. It can be referring to me or to others. I found that some also Western writers somehow have referred to the possibility of having something like this. It's very much different from what we said, but it's not too far. For example, Thomas Nagel has a book which is about the possibility of altruism. And in this book, he says that for every action that we do, if we have a desire to satisfy, it means that we have a reason. If we don't have a desire to satisfy about that action, we don't have any reason to do it. But this desire that we want to satisfy can be something about ourselves or someone else. If I can help another person and there is no reason that I should not help him, so I should help him. And if I don't help him, he says it is irrational. You cannot say it has nothing to do with me. No. Even if you can help other people, it's a good reason. This is different from people like David Hume or even some Aristotelian thinkers that they say the only way something can have impact on our behavior is if we have a desire in us for satisfying their desires. So, in other words, we don't have any basic desire in us to help other people or to satisfy the desires of other people. Rachel also has a good discussion. He has a book, The Elements of Moral Philosophy. On page 67, he says, I have translated it into Farsi in my writing. Now I am trying to translate it into English. So what I am saying is not exactly his word, because I have translated first to Farsi and I am translating to English. Right now I don't have the book with me. So I'm using my translation. He says almost all moral systems advise us to act unselfishly. Yes? غیر خودخواهانه. تقریبا تمامی نظام‌های اخلاقی به ما توصیه می‌کنند که غیر خودخواهانه عمل نماییم. It's very difficult to find people that in the name of akhlaq, maybe in the name of politics, yes. But in the name of morality, it's very difficult to find someone that says you have to be selfish. اما آنچه معین می کند که آیا من خودخواه هستم یا نه متعلق خواست من است و نه صرفا این مطلب که من بر طبق خواسته های خود عمل می کنم. So almost all moral systems, they tell us not to be selfish. But what determines whether I am selfish or not is what my desire, my want belongs to. What I want. Not just that I am acting upon my own desires or wants. اگر من خواهان خیر خود هستم و همینطور میخواهم که دیگران شاد باشند یا سعادتمند, because he uses the term happy. Happy can mean شاد or can mean someone who has felicity. سعادتمند. اگر من خواهان خیر خود هستم, if I want my own goodness. Also, if I want others to be happy and I act according to their desires, I am not selfish. So whether I want good for myself or I want to make other people happy, in both cases, I am not selfish. So here I have said this is a good idea, but there is a kind of ambiguity. What does he mean that I desire others to be happy? Is it something independent, or he means if it is both together? So in other words, does he mean if I want something good for myself and at the same time make other people happy, or he means that I can have two of them separately? Sometimes I want good for myself, sometimes I want other people to be happy. If he means separately, it's very good, and this is similar to my idea. But if it means that they have to be both together, so always you want good for yourself, but it can happen that it also has some good impact on other people, I think this is not enough. So, this is the conclusion for the discussion about Hubbuz Zat. Now we move on to the next discussion, which is very important. And I think this is an area that if we establish it very clearly, help us for understanding foundations of morality. And that is about moral reasoning, how we make moral decisions, what stages we have when we make a moral decision. The first thing, I call it بعد معرفتی. This is the very first step which is a matter of conception and evaluation. To conceive the issue and assess it, evaluate it. For example, you think about going to park. Going to park is an idea that comes to your mind. You must conceive it. You cannot decide to do something before conceiving something. The very first thing is conception. We say tasavvur. After conceiving this, you start thinking, maybe quickly, but you definitely think about the positive and negative impacts, effects, outcomes. How easy it is to go to the park, how difficult it is, how much time it takes, how much money it takes, what you are going to gain instead of this time and money, how much you are going to enjoy. So you have a whole combination of considerations surrounding this issue. It's not that you just go to the park as soon as this comes to your mind. There are rare cases that in philosophy, like fa'ila bit-tajalli, that they say as soon as something comes to the mind of the fa'il, the agent, he may do it. Like someone who is on the edge of the roof of a very high building, and when he thinks of falling, he falls. That is not fa'il bil-qasd. We are talking about fa'il bil-qasd. In any case, fa'il bil-qasd, when he has something, he thinks around it, about it, at least maybe few seconds, maybe sometimes few minutes, sometimes few hours, sometimes wait few months, few years to make decision. So we consider the positive side, negative sides, the cause and effects, and this evaluation process is very important. At the end, you have to make decision either to do it or not to do it. Even if you don't decide to do it, it means that you should not do it. So, even not deciding to do practically is a decision not to do. Yeah? Because you don't do something unless you decide to do it. So, even if you have not come to decision to do something, practically you decide not to do it. Then, in this evaluation, there is a great role for your aims and ideals in life. Very quickly in your mind, you check these positive and negative points, advantages and disadvantages against the hierarchy of aims and ideals that you have. Where does this action match my hierarchy? Is it going to help me rise in this ladder or fall? If I think it's going to help me rise, I will do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. You may say, what about the people who do something and they don't want to do it? Like people who are addicted. If someone is a drunk person addicted to drinking wine and alcohol, and he wants to stop, to quit, but he doesn't have the ability or willpower to stop it. Do you still say that he drinks because he finds it better and helpful in his search for his ideals? I say yes. The moment that he decides to drink, he thinks it is better for him to drink. But why he thinks it is better for him to drink? Not because objectively it is better for him. Not because rationally only he has come to this conclusion. When you are under great pressure because of addiction or other things, when you are under great pressure, then your assessment is not purely rational. People who are very, for example, hungry, people who are very thirsty, people who are under lots of pressure, sometimes they think something is better for them in that moment, that if the pressure is over, they may not think the same way. This is why in the discussion about Tawbah, I say, if someone is very hungry, for example, and steals a loaf of bread and eats, after his hunger is over, he has his stomach filled, then he says, oh, I shouldn't have stolen bread. It's very bad. So he repents. Then again, after some time, he becomes very hungry. He has no money. Again, he steals the bread. Then when he eats the bread, his hunger is over. So again, he makes tawbah. This is tawbah of many people. When they are faced with attractions of sins and there is a pressure from nafs, they commit the sin. When they are in the masjid or on prayer mat, they have already enjoyed their sin and have somehow lowered the pressure of nafs. Then they do tawbah. But again, in the same scenario, they do the same. This tawbah is not a progress. You shouldn't think that because this person is now regretting has necessarily made a progress. The progress is when someone is put in the same condition, would not commit the sin. Not that when the pressure is gone. If someone is really ta'ib, repentant, it means that he must have gone higher in his understanding and in his willpower. He may still commit sin, but at least not in that degree, not in that condition. Maybe if the pressure goes higher, again he may commit sin, but at least for the same thing, he would never commit a sin. And then in this way, tawbah becomes by itself a kind of progress. So, going back to the issue of someone who is addicted, someone who has a bad habit, at the time that there is a pressure, he feels that if I drink another cup of wine or if I make another smoke, it's better for me because I can overcome this pressure and do other things, get some energy, get some pleasure and carry on. If I don't do this, maybe I die, maybe I suffer a lot. So there is a calculation. I am not saying this calculation is right, but I'm saying there is a calculation, an evaluation It's not that just because someone is addicted, without evaluation, he does something. There is an evaluation, and in the end, he finds this to be better for him to do this. And he does it. Why he thinks it's better for him? Is it rational? Is it all based on knowledge? Is it based on facts? Is it objective? Not necessarily. But he thinks now it's better to do this. This may take long time. This may take only few minutes, few seconds. I'm not concerned about the timing, but I say that certainly for every voluntary action, we go through this process. The second thing, after bu'd ma'rifati, after conception and evaluation, I called it bu'd angizeshi. It's about the motivational side. Some moral philosophers have made distinction between two things, between theoretical reasoning and practical reasoning. برخی فیلسوفان اخلاق میان استدلال نظری و استدلال عملی تفکیک قائل شدند. استدلال نظری means theoretical reasoning. استدلال عملی is practical reasoning. Some say these are different. Theoretical reasoning, according to them, is about the beliefs. Practical reasoning is about making decisions. It's about desires. It's about intention. Gilbert Harman, for example, says when we say someone has a reason for action, we mean he has practical reasoning that leads him to decide to do something. If you go deep into this distinction, what they want to say is that our beliefs as such have no impact on our behavior. What has impact on our behavior is not our beliefs or theoretical reasoning, is practical reasoning. Okay? They want to separate these two. But I have said there is close connection between the two. Yes, for action we need practical reasoning. But practical reasoning is very much based on theoretical reasoning. First, you have to believe that something is good for your aims and ideals, then you will have motivation and desire. So it is true that you should have desire, you should be motivated so that you can act, but how you will be motivated. So I don't accept there is a wall between theoretical reasoning and practical reasoning. We say no, there is a connection. After this, we acknowledge, and I think this is an area that we need to work more with the help of psychology, especially philosophical psychology or ilm al-nafs al-falsafi. This is an area that we have to work more about the role of emotions and desires in our decision making. And we have to be balanced, of course. We shouldn't go to extreme. We should not say it's only emotions and nothing else. You know, there are some moral philosophers called emotivists. Emotivists reduce everything to emotions. And they say, actually, akhlaq is nothing other than expression of emotions. According to emotivists, if I say something is good, it means, wow. It's just expression of being happy with something. If I say something is bad, it just means something is terrible for your emotions. We don't accept this. In many different places, we have discussed this, especially in the translation of After Virtue by McIntyre, which alhamdulillah is available. You can find this, that what is wrong with emotivism. But at the same time, we should have a balanced discussion about the role of emotions. We cannot ignore emotions. We cannot only think about theoretical reasoning. We must see how people develop emotions, positive or negative emotions towards something. How we can encourage people to do what they know that it is good. It's not enough to say something is good theoretically. You have to understand human psychology and how people develop love and hatred towards something and work on that area also, not just on the theories. So I said there is something good in emotivists, and that is their recognition of the role of emotions, but they have gone too far. They have gone to the extreme. On the other hand, some rationalists, they have highlighted the role of intellect in reasoning. This is very good. But they have also, unfortunately, another problem, and that is they have not paid enough attention to emotions and feelings of people. And they don't explain sometimes why and how we follow our intellectual judgments. For example, Immanuel Kant says intellect is the only thing that can motivate. For moral reasoning, for making a decision about what to do, we should only think of what reason we have, which means what theoretical reason we have. If I want to explain the idea of Kant here more, we can say, according to Kant, all the basic principles of morality are binding, are obligatory for intellectual beings. Any rational being, intellectual being, including angels, if there are people living in Mars, Merrikh Neshinan, if there are people there, human beings who are rational there, and us. So any intelligent being would have basic principles of akhlaq binding, means elzamavar, is obligatory. Why? Because they all are rational and can know these principles. For him, having aql is enough. then he says aql itself is enough for being motivated. Otherwise, according to Kant, we should leave aside akhlaq. So, it's very dry approach. It's very theoretical approach. He doesn't recognize the role of desires in human beings, emotions in human beings, as if everything is just aql. Thomas Nagel, that we just quoted him earlier, he's a Kantian. He says our basic desires, like desire for food, for water, act only as facts for intellect. Means our intellect is only concerned about the facts and consider these as facts, not anything more. For example, I know that someone is hungry. In my decision making, I should consider someone is hungry. It's a fact. It can be you, it can be myself. It's just a fact. I don't know, is it clear how he is ignoring the personal, emotional side? For aql, it's not the same if it's dealing with my hunger or hunger of someone else. You cannot expect aql to be totally indifferent. Because when it's my hunger, there is greater pressure, there is greater desire compared to someone else's. But for them, no. They say, we only do things for which we have reason, and these desires give us reason, like facts. I have said, این مطلب درست است که در موجودات عاقل باید منشئی برای برانگیزندگی وجود داشته باشد. This is true that in intelligent beings there must be something to motivate them. ولی این دلیل نمی شود که عقل به تنهایی باید چنین کاری انجام دهد. But this is not an adequate reason to say that it's only عقل. With the help of عقل, the maximum we can understand is that something is good for me. But why should I do it? Why should I do something which is good for me? Don't we need something more in us? Don't we need to have a desire for our own perfection, a desire for our own progress, so that I do something that I know it is good? Because otherwise people may say, okay, it's good for me, but why should I do it? There must be something in human beings that motivates them, pushes them towards what they know it is good for them. What intellect can do is to define for us a chain of aims and means, ends and means, and tell us for this aim, this end, this means is better. But what aim to choose is not only what aql can do. Let me read this sentence. This is the summary of my idea here, and I think this is what is compatible with Islamic philosophy. But if you have other opinions, I can, very happily welcome your idea. This is the summary of my position. ما به کمک عقل حد اکثر می توانیم درک کنیم فلان کار برای ما خوب است، ولی چرا باید آن کار را انجام دهیم؟ اگر در درون ما میل به کمال خود یا حب ذات وجود نداشته باشد، تصمیم به انجام چنان کاری نخواهیم گرفت. آنچه عقل میتواند انجام دهد این است که سلسله هدف وسیله را برای ما مشخص کند و بگوید برای چنین هدفی بهترین وسیله کدام است. اما تعیین اینکه چه هدفی را باید برگزید از عهده عقل به تنهایی خارج است. So, what particular aim I should adopt as my ideal, as something that I should dedicate my life to it, this is not what عقل alone can tell us. Whenever we find an action good for ourselves, there is something in us that creates motivation for it. We have always desires and enough motivation to do something that we find to be good for us, suitable for us. We don't need to create desires in us. We are not like robots. We are not like computers who just make decisions theoretically. No, we have already in us lots of emotional power that we need just to identify what is good for us. That power comes in and motivates us. But I accept that if something has nothing to do with us, then that desire system would not, become triggered and activated. The next discussion here is, how much time we have?
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. The next desire we have is about different types of desires. The next topic is about different types of desires. When I was writing my PhD, I read some of Islamic books, and then I myself was thinking about this. I think this classification is something useful, but again, I am very happy if you find other ways of classifying desires, or if you find something confirming this, other text or references that have confirmed this also would be useful to share with me. I put it in this way. I said we have three types of desires. The first is what I call physical or sensual desires. میلهای جسمانی یا حسی. These are the desires for things that create physical pleasure or sensual pleasure in us if we satisfy them. If I do this, I get a physical pleasure, a sensual pleasure. Of course, all the pleasure and pain are understood by self, by nafs, not by body. So when we say physical pleasure, it doesn't mean that the body is enjoying. But the reason we call this physical is because it involves part or parts of our body. And there is a physical encounter or contact that leads to this kind of pleasure. این دسته از میلها مربوط به کارهایی هستند که برای ما لذت جسمانی یا حسی ایجاد میکنند. This group of desires are about those actions that create in us physical or sensual pleasure. گرچه تمام لذت ها توسط نفس یا خود درک می شود. Although all the pleasures are perceived by self, by soul, but لذت های جسمانی ارتباط خاصی با قسمتی از بدن و نیز با یک شیء جسمانی بیرونی دارد. You know, in philosophy we say pleasure and pain are understood by nafs. But there is a special link with part of body and something physical outside. در حقیقت لذت‌های جسمانی نتیجه نوعی تماس و مواجهه میان قسمتی از بدن ما و شیء خارجی است. So physical pleasures are results of a kind of contact or encounter between part of our body and something external. Like the pleasure that we get when we eat delicious food. I don't say pleasure is something that your tongue is feeling. No, pleasure is understood by soul. If you are very busy, for example, if you are very worried, you don't get the pleasure. The tongue has its own function, but the pleasure is not there. Because pleasure is from soul, nafs. But the gate, the link for nafs at the moment is tongue. When something delicious is put in your mouth and your tongue and the sensors on your tongue have contact with the food, some signals are sent to the brain, and then the brain informs the soul, and finally the soul has the pleasure. But this pleasure we call it jismani because it is through part of body being in touch with a physical external object. البته اگر شخصی بیمار باشد یا ذهنش کاملا متوجه امر دیگری باشد ممکن است از چنین تماس و مواجهه‌ای لذت نبرد. این نشان می‌دهد که لذت امری فراتر از تماس و مواجهه حسی است و ممکن است پس از درک و توجه به این تماس و مواجهه حاصل شود. So pleasure is something higher than this physical encounter or contact, but we need this encounter and contact so that this type of pleasure is created. So this is why we call it lazzat hissi or lazzat jismani. The second type of ladza I called it semi-abstract because the third is abstract. I was looking for a good way of explaining these three. So the first was easy, physical, sensual pleasure and desire. But for the second and third, so I said the second is middle. And therefore I called it semi-abstract. The third is abstract. In Farsi I translated انتزاعی. So, میلهای نیمه انتزاعی. I didn't call it something else, but we can discuss it if you have other suggestions. This type of desires belong to the things that create semi-abstract pleasures, which are normally more endurable than the first ones. When you eat a delicious food, the pleasure, not the memory of it. Memory can remain for years, but the actual pleasure is for a short period of time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. When you are eating, you get that pleasure. It's quick. But this one is more endurable. The pleasure that you gain from having money, if someone has money, or position, or fame, this is from this category. It's not directly caused by physical objects. And it's not therefore related to our five senses. It's not about seeing, smelling, eating, tasting. No. Maybe you say, but sometimes we become happy if we hear that we have been given, for example, a gift. We have been given some money. But you know that it's not because of hearing. Don't make mistake. Hearing the good news about being given position doesn't make this lezzat hissi. You understand? It's just a matter of a way to know that you have been given. Lezzat hissi for hearing is like listening to a good music or beautiful recitation or sound of nature. This is lezzat hissi. But if I hear that I have been given, for example, a gift, this is not lezzat hissi. We have to see what type of gift is and what pleasure that gives to me, not the hearing. The same is with seeing and good news, for example. So, درست است که انسان از شنیدن ارتقاء مقام در اداره یا لمس جوایزی که برده است ممکن است لذت ببرد، ولی لذت ربطی به این احساس یا تماس حسی ندارد. For example, someone gives you a check of 10 million tumans, gift. When you see the check or you touch the check, you get pleasure. But this pleasure has nothing to do with the pleasure of his. You understand? This is only a kind of prerequisite, a kind of introduction to understand what you were looking for, which was money, position, fame, etc. Otherwise, what happens to your body is not different from when you hear that you are promoted or someone else is promoted. For your body is the same. It's different from putting delicious food in your mouth or someone else's mouth. Now, let us reflect why we become happy if we have been given money. I said, when you have money, this is not by itself good for you. Money as such, I cannot eat money, I cannot drink money, I cannot smell money. Money is good for me because of its role in helping me to get what I want. For example, I want delicious food. If I have money, I can buy delicious food. I want to go to a park. I want to go to swim in the sea. Money by itself is not helping me. Money helps me because I can then get other things that can give me pleasure. Suppose you have money, but you are not able to spend it. Is it going to help you? I give you lots of money, but I say you cannot use it. Does it help you? Do you become happy? No, because it's not giving you any pleasure. The pleasure is because I am going to gain pleasure in other things through having money. The same is about fame. Why some people get happy when they are famous? Because through fame, they are respected more, they are given better offers, better treatments. But if you are very famous in the world, but they don't know it's actually you. Suppose you are the greatest scholar, but people don't know you personally. Is that fame helping you? It's not going to help you. On the other hand, someone is not famous, but people mistakenly think he is that famous person and they respect him. He gets lots of pleasure. So, I said, it seems to me what gives us pleasure in the semi-abstract types of pleasure is the pleasure that comes from knowing that I have power to do what I like or to buy what I like, which would create physical pleasure in me or abstract pleasure in me. So the middle one by itself is not that important. It's either because it helps me to get the first type or the third type. Now we go to the third type. And that is abstract desires, which create abstract pleasure if they are satisfied. Like what? If you have tranquility, if you have peace of mind, if you feel content, if you know things, they give you pleasure. And this pleasure is not because of something else. They give you pleasure by themselves and are not related also to any part of the body. So, I said, desire in this type of cases is asil, genuine, because in my understanding they are sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, but
Okay, it's okay, you can hear me?
yes.
Okay, so male desire in such cases is asil, genuine, because it is real and it's basic. میل در این گونه موارد اصیل است، یعنی اولا واقعی است و ثانیاً پایه و اساسی است و قابل تحویل به میل زیربنایی تری نیست. You cannot reduce it to something more underlying. In such cases, the aim is not to gain physical pleasure or semi-abstract pleasure or any other types of pleasure is directly important for us, not because of something else. One way to recognize these genuine desires, which are real and basic, is to look into your own heart and see why you want something, why something is desirable. Is it because of itself or because of something else? For example, if someone is very thirsty and then he sees that there is a cold cup of lemonade, I say شربت آبلیموی خنک. So someone is thirsty and there is a cold glass of lemonade in front of him. For sure this person would desire to drink this drink. But now question is this desire for cold lemonade genuine? In the sense that, is it real and basic? I say it's not genuine. Although it is real, but it is not basic. Because we human beings don't have desire for cold lemonade as such. It's not that there is a desire, independent desire in human beings for cold lemonade. We need something to quench our thirst. It can be lemonade, it can be any other cold drink. So, this shows you that in all types of pleasure, for example here physical pleasure, that you get from drinking a cold lemonade, you have to be careful to distinguish between what is genuine, means real and basic, and what can come and sit on that. For example, do we have human beings genuine desire for particular food? No. We don't have this genuine desire for particular food. But our desire for food can belong to thousands of types of food. This is very important for our future discussion, when I will inshallah talk about which of these desires can belong to immoral actions and why they belong to immoral actions. So I say میل اصیل میلی است که ما می توانیم مستقیما و به طور مستقل احساس کنیم و نه صرفاً برای رسیدن به میلی دیگر. So genuine desire is the desire that we can directly and independently feel, not as a means for reaching another desire. یک راه تشخیص میل‌های اصیل این است که در خود تأمل کنیم و ببینیم آیا آنچه را که به آن میل داریم فی نفسه مطلوب ما می باشد و یا به خاطر چیز دیگری مطلوب است. So one way is to look inside yourself and see what you desire. Is it desired for the sake of itself, by itself, or it's because of something else? به طور مثال اگر فردی تشنه باشد و لیوان پر از شربت آبلیموی خنکی را ببیند به آن میل پیدا می کند. اما در اینجا واقعیت این است که او میل به شربت آبلیمو فی نفسه ندارد، بلکه او میل به چیزی دارد که تشنگیش را برطرف کند. حالا این میخواهد آب باشد یا شربت آبلیمو باشد یا هر نوشیدنی دیگری. He wants something to quench his thirst. It can be this lemonade, it can be another drink, it can be lemonade which belongs to him, it can be lemonade that belongs to another person. These are not things that we want for themselves. So this was an example. Drink is an example for physical pleasure. For abstract pleasures also we can make an example. در مورد لذت‌های انتزاعی میتوان به لذت طالب حقیقی علم اشاره کرد که پس از تلاش فراوان سرانجام به مجهول خود پی میبرد. If someone is seeking the truth, seeking knowledge, and after making several days or months of study finds the answer for his question, این لذت به دلیل رسیدن به پول یا مقام یا شهرت نیست. Don't say he has pleasure because he knows that they will give him money or they will take him to TV or they will give him position in university. No. This pleasure can be, of course, some people maybe just have pleasure when they find the answer because of other things. But I say a true seeker of knowledge and truth, when he finds the answer, by itself gives him pleasure. And this pleasure is genuine, abstract pleasure. دانستن به خودی خود برای چنین فردی موضوعیت دارد. Okay, I stop here because then I have important reflection on this. Something very important for understanding of sins and desires that are there. Inshallah, we can discuss it next week. But if you come across any reference about what I said, either to support what I said or against what I said, inshallah share with me. التماس دعا في امان الله. خدا حافظ.